And we are all glad to have you here with us today. I am Dee Oliver. I am the chairman of the Planning Commission, and welcome. Before we get started, I've asked Commissioner Redmond to lead us in the prayer, and this will be followed by the pledge by Commissioner Ripley. So if you all would please stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the opportunity to come together as friends and as a body to advance the interests of this wonderful community. We ask You to guide us that our work might be fair, compassionate, and intelligent. We are ever mindful, Lord, of the sacrifices of Your Son, Jesus Christ, who died so that we might be absolved of our sins. We appreciate this life. We appreciate this opportunity. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Redmond and Commissioner Ripley, for that. I've asked Commissioner Weiner to please introduce the members.
Thank you, Mrs. Oliver. Down on my far right is Kay Wilson. Kay is our city attorney. Next to Kay is George Alcaraz. George is a contractor, and he represents the Beach District. Next to me is Jack Wall. Jack is a civil engineer, and he represents the Rose Hall District. My name is David Weiner. I'm a commercial sales, and I represent the Kempsville District. The empty chair next to me is Don Horsley. Don is a farmer, and he is at large. Next is Ron Ripley. Ron is in real estate management and development, and he is also at large. Next is Dee Oliver. Dee is our chair of the Planning Commission. She's a funeral director, and she is at large. Next is Jan Roszinski. Jan is the vice chair of the Planning Commission. She is in property management, and she represents the Centerville District. The other empty chair is Mike Inman. Mike is an attorney, and he is at large. He's not here today. And then Dave Redmond. Dave Redmond is a commercial real estate, and he represents the Bayside District. Then we have Whitney Graham. Whitney is in land development, and he represents the Lynn District. And then Steve Barnes. Steve Barnes is a farmer, and he represents the Princess Anne District. And then we have Bobby Tahan. Bobby is our director of the planning department. And Mr. Tahan, would you introduce your staff, please?
Yes. Clerking today, we have Nicole Garrido and Carol Dozier. And starting with the planning staff and city staff, we have Carolyn Smith, Marshall Coleman, Bill Landfair, Kevin Kemp, Whitney McNamara, and with our city attorney's office, Tori Rice.
Great. Thank you. And our attorney, Kay Wilson, is going to start us with one resolution.
First on the agenda is a resolution to schedule monthly meetings for the Planning Commission from June 2019 to May 2020. Each month is listed out as to what day it will be on. This would help us if there should be a cancellation of a meeting. That meeting would not be re-advertised.
Right. Thank you very much. Do we need to vote on that?
Yep.
Need a motion.
Okay. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay.
Vote is open. By a vote of 9-0, the resolution to schedule meetings for June 2019 through May 2020 has been approved.
Great. Thank you very much. The next order of business is going to be the explanation of the rules that we use to run the meetings. Jan?
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Oliver. The Virginia Beach Planning Commission takes pride in being fair and courteous to all parties in attendance. It is important that all involved understand how the Commission normally conducts its meetings. It's equally important that everyone treat each other and members of the Commission with respect and civility. The Commission requests that if you have a cell phone to please silence it or turn it off at this time. This is an abbreviated explanation of the rules. A complete set of the rules is found in the front of the Planning Commission agenda for today. Consent agenda. So following the order of this public hearing, withdrawals and deferrals. The chairman will ask if there's a request for an item to be withdrawn or deferred. The consideration of these items is made first. The consent agenda is the second order of business, and that's the consideration of the agenda items which the Planning Commission believes are unopposed and have favorable staff recommendation. Regular agenda. The Commission will then proceed with the remaining items on the agenda. Please note that action taken by the commission today are in the form of a recommendation to the Virginia Beach City Council. The final decision for approval or denial of any application is made by City Council. The commission thanks you for your attendance, and we hope that your experience here today leaves you feeling that you have been heard and treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next order of business is to address those items to be deferred or withdrawn. The chair is aware of item number D2 being withdrawn. Is there any objection to that being withdrawn today? All right, hearing none. I need a motion to have this item withdrawn.
I'll make a motion to withdraw
Item-
D2.
Perfect. Great, thank you.
Vote is open.
The chair is also aware of the following items that have been requested to be deferred. If you have an item to be requested, or, sorry, is being deferred, if you would like to come up, we can do that now. Item number 2. I know this is a little confusing today because we've got a lot of deferrals. Item number 3. Welcome. If you'll state your name for the record, please.
Bruce Berlin with Venture Realty Group. Item 3, we request a deferral for a month.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Is there someone here that would like to speak or like to be heard about this particularly? Okay, great. Thank you. The next item that has been requested to be deferred is item number 7. Is there a representative for item number 7? Any oppositions to it? And then the next is item number 8. Is there a representative for number 8? Item number 8. And is there any objections to this being deferred? All right, great. Then may I have a motion on the deferred items, number 2, 3, 7, and 8?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to defer items 2, 3, 7, and 8.
I second.
Great, thank you. Second by Commissioner Graham.
Animal.
Vote is open. By a vote of 9-0, items 2, 3, 7, 8 have been deferred, and item D2 was withdrawn.
Thank you very much.
Just to clarify for the record, those items were deferred to the June public hearing for the Planning Commission.
Thank you. The next order of business will address those that have been placed on the consent agenda. The vice chair will handle this portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This afternoon, we have 7 items on the consent agenda. The first matter is agenda item number 1. This is an application from DML Designs LLC, trading as Trinity Tattoo Company, an application for a conditional use permit, tattoo parlor, and a conditional use permit for body piercing establishment on property located at 2720 North Mall Drive, Suite 112 and 116 in the Rose Hall District. Is there a representative for this application? Good afternoon. Could you state your name for the record?
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Luxon.
And are the conditions acceptable?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the consent agenda.
We're going to read.
Oh, I'm sorry. The chairman has asked Commissioner Jack Wall to read this into the record.
Thank you.
I'm trying to rush us along.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, this is a conditional use permit for a tattoo parlor and a conditional use permit for body piercing establishment. The applicant proposes to merge 2 existing tattoo parlors, one located along Bonnie Road and a second located within the Lynn Haven Mall, into one operation within a 5,000 square foot unit in the Lynn Haven North Shopping Center. In addition, the applicant proposes to offer body piercing within the same establishment. Based on this, conditional use permits for both a tattoo parlor and for a body piercing establishment are requested. There are anticipated to be 21 employees, 13 of which will be likely tattoo artists. The hours of operation are expected to be 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 11 to 6 on Sunday. No changes to the building exterior are proposed other than proposed channel letter signage. Staff recommends approval and the conditions are acceptable to the applicant. For these reasons, we place this application on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Now, the next item is agenda item number 4. That is for Indian Cove Resort Associations, Inc., an application for a modification of conditions campground on property located at 1053 Sandbridge Road in the Princess Anne District. Is there a representative here for that matter? Could you come forward and state your name for the record?
Jackie Livingston?
Thank you. And are the conditions acceptable?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The chairman has asked Commissioner David Weiner to read this into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Rosinski. This is a modification of conditions. The conditional use permit was permitting a 308-site campground was approved by City Council in 1969. A modification of the conditional use permit was approved in 1981 to expand the existing campground to 509 campsites. The application proposes the use of the adjacent site for overflow parking for members. Modification to the conditional use permit is requested in order to officially incorporate this additional property into the campground. We recommended approval and put it on the consent agenda.
Mr. Barnes, it's my understanding that you needed to abstain on this application because
Yes,
you're...
ma'am, I'm an adjoining property owner, so I need to abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 5, and that's an application at Associates LLP, which is an application for a conditional use permit car wash facility on property located at 2677 Virginia Beach Boulevard in the Beach District. Is there a representative for this? If you could state your name for the record.
Greg Cyphers, an attorney with Williams Mullen, represents the applicant, and it's actually AT Associates.
Oh, it's AD?
AT, as in Tom,
Oh,
or Ann and Tom, if you wanted to
Sorry.
think of it that way.
Ann and Tom.
and the conditions are acceptable?
Yes,
the
they are.
applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the chairman has asked George Alcaraz to read this into the record.
Thank you. In April 2017, a conditional use permit for a bulk storage yard was granted on the property for storage of up to 75 automobiles in association with the nearby Beach Ford car dealership. The applicant is now requesting to replace the storage area with car wash. The proposal request for the conditional use permit for a car wash, in staff's opinion, is acceptable use and is compatible with other uses. Many of which the motor vehicles related along with the section of Virginia Beach Boulevard as stated previously. I'm sorry, I skipped a line here. Sorry about that. The applicant intends to maintain the existing street frontage landscaping and will provide additional plantings to conform with the requirements of the Virginia Beach Landscaping Guide. The parking provided on the site meets the requirements of the section 203 of the zoning ordinance, exceeding the minimum parking spaces required by 7 additional parking spaces. The applicant worked with staff to ensure high-quality site layout and an attractive building design. Based on the considerations above, staff recommends approval and it's on consent agenda.
All right, thank you. The next item is item number 6, Timberlake Shopping Center Associates LLC, an amendment to the Timberlake PDH1 land use plan to add an indoor recreational facility over 7,500 square feet as permitted use on the property located at 2439 Holland Road in the Rose Hall District. Hi.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Rosinski, Madam Chair. For the record, Eddie Burdon, Virginia Beach attorney, representing the applicant owner as well as the prospective tenant on this somewhat unique application to amend the PDH1 land use plan. appreciate all of Marcel's hard work as well as the assistance from Ms. Wilson, and appreciate being on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The chair has asked Commissioner Whitney Graham to read this into the record.
Thank you. Timberlake Shopping Center Associates LLC is requesting to amend the PDH1 land use plan for Timberlake to add an indoor recreational facility with a floor area greater than 7,500 square feet as permitted use at this location. Amending the plan will allow the applicant to operate a 17,728 square foot fitness facility. This is not a blanket change to the Timberlake PDH1 land use plan. This application will only amend the PDH land use plan for this location. The applicant will have approximately 15 employees at the facility. It will operate between 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday and 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Staff recommends approval, and this is on the consent agenda.
Thank you. The next item is number 10. It is the City of Virginia Beach, an ordinance to amend Section 107 of the city zoning ordinance pertaining to the time limitations for city council referrals to zoning amendments to the Planning Commission for action. And the chair has asked Zoning Minister Kevin Kemp to read this for us.
Thank you, Commissioner. This ordinance will amend Section 107 of the zoning ordinance and sync our zoning ordinance up with recently passed state legislation. What it is basically is if City Council refers an item for your consideration, if they are going to expect you to consider it less than 100 days, there's additional requirements that need to be met, particularly advertising through the paper and on the website. Staff recommends approval of this amendment.
All right, thank you. The next item is also a City of Virginia Beach item. It's an ordinance to amend Section 103 of the city's zoning ordinance pertaining to notification to property owners. And again, Mr. Kemp, would you read this?
Yes, thank you. What this does, it again syncs our zoning ordinance with recent state legislation. What it does is it adds certified mail as an acceptable form of notification to which when someone receives it, the appeal period can begin. It is currently zoning's practice of using registered mail. What this, I don't anticipate that practice will change, but this will add the option to send certified as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last item on the consent agenda is item number D1 for Glassell S. Scott Jr., an application of a street closure next to a vacant parcel on Vanderbilt Avenue, approximately 263 feet from Croatan Road, Lot 18, Block 18, Croatan Beach, in the Beach District.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, Madam Chair, for the record, again, Eddie Burdon, Virginia Beach attorney representing the applicant. Appreciate the work of Mr. Landfair and the staff. I wanted to mention too, because Mr. Wall asked the question, the informal, the closing these alleys in Croatan has been a city policy priority since Linwood Branch was on council. And they come in fits and starts where we've closed, these portions of alleys and all these alleys, none of which have ever been improved, going back over, 30, 35 years. So appreciate it being on consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on the consent agenda. And we've asked for Ron Ripley to read this one into the record.
Well, I think Mr. Badon did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he did. That's why I kept on going there.
I appreciate that, but I would have said something similar to that because I've seen these closings happening a lot. It's an alley that's behind these lots that the owners tend to want to own, and the viewers have been out and looked at it, determined if there's any public interest in this alley, and they determined they didn't think there were any, and staff looked at it and recommended that we approve this. So we put this on our consent agenda. It's only a 7.5 by 50-foot strip of land in the back of this lot. And like Mr. Don said, I know I've seen dozens and dozens of these come through the Planning Commission while I've been up here, and it's a normal thing. So it's pretty routine, so we put it on consent.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
All right, like I said, that is the last item, so I would like to move that items number 1, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and D1 be approved.
All right, I have a motion made by the vice chair. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Weiner.
By a recorded vote of 9-0, items 1, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and D1 have been approved by consent, with Commissioner Barnes abstaining from item 4.
Great, thank you. I'd like to thank all the applicants that came down today that had a matter on the consent agenda.
Hey, Dee, hold on a second. We did
We
not
have
do
two matters. We never did number 9,
Yes, I know.
so we
I got
need to do it.
It's coming.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. I didn't
And-
forget it.
Okay, and then I need a motion, because thanks to Mr. Ripley, he found out that the September meeting on my resolution is the 11th, not the 14th. If I could have a motion to change that.
All right, and,
Make a motion to correct.
Second.
all right.
Not getting anything past him.
I just looked at my calendar.
All right. All right.
By a vote of 8-0 with one person in this group abstaining, can we close this vote and revote? Because I imagine all 9 people wanted to vote.
Yes.
So don't,
We didn't vote.
and then open it. Open it again.
This is a correction on the resolution. This is what the vote is for.
Vote is open. By a vote of 9-0, the resolution has been passed to change the dates that was originally presented, to take out September 11th and add September 14th.
Opposite, to take out the 14th and change it to the 11th.
My confused apology.
Thank you. The next order of business will be address the remaining matters on our agenda. And that would be an item that was be deferred, which was item number 9. And so if I could have our zoning administrator, Kevin Kemp, come up and read that for us, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. This is an ordinance that was sponsored and brought to staff's attention by Councilwoman Wooten. It is in regards to home-based wildlife rehab. This is a service that is needed in our city. The city facilities just can't handle the amount of animals that are needed. You have seen many come through with conditional use permits. What this amendment would do would change those to be permitted by right. Just to remind you, this use is heavily regulated by the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fishery. They are the ones who really do the inspection and the renewal of the license. In this amendment, to be permitted by right, they would have to meet the requirements of Section 242.3 of the zoning ordinance, which were written to mirror pretty closely the requirements of the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Kemp? Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to close this now and open it up to the commissioners for discussion and/or a motion. Yes, Commissioner Redmond.
Madam Chairwoman, it's come to my attention that there are some elements of this ordinance that require some further discussion, some outreach, and some, and I think some consultation that is required at this point, such that it's not quite ready for our consideration. And so for that reason, I would move that we indefinitely defer this item.
Second.
Second. Okay. Jack?
Vote is open.
Great, thank you.
By a vote of 9-0, item 9, an ordinance to amend zoning ordinance pertaining to home-based wildlife rehabilitation has been indefinitely deferred.
Thank you very much. Well, is there any other further business for today? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I forgot to notify the commission in the informal session. You received a printout of the Pints for Preservation I don't know, a way to celebrate the Historic Preservation Month is going on right now. Last night, the mayor read a proclamation for Preservation Month for May. All the proceeds that go to this go to help Preservation Virginia maintain the Cape Henry Lighthouse. So in an effort to continue to raise funds to maintain our historic resources, we wanted to make sure we brought this to your attention and hopefully enjoy a craft beverage at one point in time. So.
Great. Thank you very much. We all look forward to participating in that. And if there's any other further business, if none, on behalf of my fellow commissioners, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today and thank the planning director and his staff for their excellent work in preparing today's agenda. Therefore, the meeting of May is adjourned.